Welcome. Didn't do the countdown today, but we're live. We're here. We're going to talk about the rookie wide receivers. It's it's a long class. Are you excited?
I'm excited.
How many names? I mean, last week with running backs, we had maybe 10 names we really wanted to get to. This time we have 15. And that doesn't even include the other ones, the ones we might get to. We might talk about additional names. But 15 names I think are important.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, how have you been?
I've been good, a little late today. Technology's caused me problems, but
Technology sucks, man.
dude,
welcome,
don't even get me started on this computer. It always freezes when I need it the most. I was in here. I was ready to start at 2:55, like we said, 2 weeks ago? We were going to do that every week. I'm right. I was sitting here ready. Then my mouse just explodes, and I'm like, oh, great.
I know. We'll do one promo and then we'll get into the show. So a week from Thursday and then a week from Friday, we'll be doing the NFL draft live. Now, you have seen the, as of now, finalized. There may be people to add, but if this is it, I'm fine with that. The as of now finalized guest list. What do you think of the guests that I managed to book for our show? Does it just look good or, great?
It looks great. I mean, there's a couple names I'm super excited about. I'm excited about everyone. As far as I know about 95% of the list. I'm excited to talk to everyone. So,
yeah, no, I have. I think I have about 15 to 20 different people. Welcome, Chris. So it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show. We're going to be live for all of day one and day two. I'll get those show links out soon for sure. And those will be very, very exciting. And I'm excited for that. We'll talk about these rookies. But other than that, this was a very quiet news week, right? I mean, almost nothing to talk about, right?
Yeah, surprisingly.
I'll put two things on there. There was T. Higgins and his labrum repair. I haven't heard anything. You heard anything else about that other than the sleeper alert? Sleeper alert's all I got.
Sleeper alert's all I got too. He's gonna be fine. No concern.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, he better be, right? He's such a high-end asset.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely a high-end asset, and I think I have him higher than most. But what else is there to say about T. Higgins? We know he's good at football.
Yeah, we know he's good. I mean, he does suffer a little bit from sharing with Jamar Chase, but, I get it. So, also, what do you think of the new light that I have? I have a new light.
I noticed. I like it.
Brighter?
Brighter. Definitely brighter.
Thank you. I thought it was a good purchase.
It's definitely a good purchase. I need to pivot off these LEDs.
Yeah. No, I like it. I think I don't look like I'm sitting in a dungeon anymore. But yeah, we had T. Higgins on there. And then we also had the Derek Carr extension. And there is a video on this channel, the Derek Carr extension video, which you can watch. I won't rehash it, but I would suggest you watch it. It didn't get a lot of views. I was a little sad. It didn't get a lot of views. People didn't seem so interested in my thoughts on Derek Carr. So that kind of made me a little bit sad, but go watch it. It'll make me happy. And a happy Tyler is a better Tyler.
That is 100% true. I mean, I guess because everyone knows what Derek Carr is.
Yeah, I know.
The QB2, he's not going to pivot much. I don't think he's going to be in that high-end QB1 range.
I know, but,
Still. I understand. I understand what you mean. I'm just,
It's funny. I actually stopped drinking as much coffee recently. So, yeah, this is what my teeth look like after all of that coffee. So next time I go to the dentist and I get those teeth whitened, they'll actually stay whitened. That'll be nice. But I appreciate that, Chris. And then, yes, FF Lefty startup season. Yes, I have heard of your startup, and I'm looking at it. And you're doing – I don't think you've done anything yet, but you're doing well for not having done anything. I think, aren't we at the start? I think we're at the beginning. So we'll see about that. Anyway, I think that's it for the intro.
Yes.
Everything else. So
that's it for the news. Quick news week. It's shocking. I mean, next week probably the same thing, but
we just have so many players to discuss today.
But yeah, it's a good thing. So we could hop right in it. We could start with your wide receiver one.
Yeah, I don't think I've changed these ranks since I did the show sheet. So we're gonna get the players in the order I have them ranked. And Ryan, I'm sure differs some.
Yes.
We had some disagreements. We rarely disagree, but we had some disagreements last week on the running backs.
I think we will again here.
We're gonna have some more disagreements. Okay, good. We'll have more disagreement. So let's So these players will come in the order I have them ranked. Oh, welcome, Adam. I always love to see you. Adam's been there since day one. So, but yeah, let's start at the top.
Yeah, let's start at the top with Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. Solid prospect. I mean, we have to clarify. This is all tier 2. We're starting at tier 2. There's no tier 1 prospects. I had to throw that in there.
That's a good point. So, some years there's a tier 1 prospect. Jamar Chase would be a tier 1 prospect. I consider tier 1 to be someone that I expect that player to come in and fantasy produce right away at a high level. I don't know what. Thank you. I don't know what you expected from Jamar Chase last year, but I think most people ranked him as, they were wrong, but most people ranked him as a wide receiver 2 in redraft, mid to low end 2.
I was so close. I'd been 13.
I
So
know.
close.
But a tier 1, that's a tier 1 player. Some classes don't have one. In 2020, CeeDee Lamb was like right on the line of a tier 1 player for me. And then, in 2019 didn't have any. The DK Metcalf and AJ Brown worked out to be them, but they didn't have a tier 1 prospect. 2018 didn't have any. DJ Moore was the closest thing, but not really. So there isn't always one. Amari Cooper would be a tier 1 prospect. And unfortunately, to show you that they miss, Sammy Watkins would be a tier 1 prospect. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. They do miss. But this year does not have one. There is no tier 1 prospect in this class. So we talk about, we move on to tier 2 prospects. Examples of tier 2 prospects in the past. Devonta Smith would be a tier 2 prospect. There are problems, but I believe in him. I think he'll be a good player. Jalen Waddle last year for me. Adam's asking what qualifies a tier 1 prospect. Basically, someone I expect to come in immediately and contribute at wide receiver. Tier 1 prospect for wide receiver, immediate contribution. They should be, I'm confident. I would draft them in redraft with no hesitancy. So Jamar Chase was that kind of player. CeeDee Lamb to an extent, a little lower than Chase, but I would still probably qualify him as tier 1. Whereas, guys like Devonta Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Waddle for me was tier 2. For others would have him lower. And then, we're going to get to the guys in this class, but, N'Keal Harry was a tier 2 prospect. Sometimes they're really bad, but he was a tier 2 prospect for me. So they're not always, they don't all hit, but those are tier 2 prospects. So yeah, Garrett Wilson for me, a tier 2 prospect. I would not expect Garrett Wilson. Good breakdown on prospect tiers helps you know where to prioritize them. Yeah, it helps. And that's why I don't have wide receivers at the top of my board this year. And I would have them a lot lower if their other positions were better, but they're not. And then we will get to Jalen, don't worry. He's at the bottom of the show sheet. I wrote an article about him, so we will definitely get to him. But yeah, so Garrett Wilson, a tier 2 prospect for me. I like him, but I don't know. I mean, he couldn't even be the wide receiver 1 on his college team.
Hey, that's not a knock. JSN's probably going to be a tier 1 next year. That's what he's looking like.
But see, he wasn't really the wide receiver 1 in 2020 either, was he? Chris Olave was.
That's fair. This year's not a knock on him. Last year, you could.
Yeah, no, it's not a huge knock, and I still have him at wide receiver 1 in this class, 4.3 at 40-yard dash. Now, I will say, he would not be my wide receiver 1 if it were completely draft capital blind. I'm already assuming that Garrett Wilson is going to be drafted as the first or second wide receiver taken. And that's built into this ranking. So he wouldn't be my wide receiver 1 if it were blind. That would be Treylon Perks, who we're going to get to next. But with draft capital included, I think the difference between being a top 10 pick and in the 20s is enough for me to change my mind. I see the top 3 very equally. Wilson, Burks, and London, that is, and we'll get to the other 2. But yeah, I mean, what do you have to say about Wilson? I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we disagree on his rankings with draft capital based. I think he's my 3rd wide receiver, honestly.
So you don't like him as much then?
It's not that I don't like him as much. I just like the other guys more. I think Drake London, who we're going to talk about later, is going to get that draft capital, which we'll talk about the connection as well later. But nothing that Garrett Wilson has done wrong. I know he's been linked to the Falcons at 8. You put that on the show sheet. I
did, yeah. I've put that on there, and I think that I see that all the time. I see Garrett Wilson at 8 to the Falcons constantly, and I think that I'm not saying that's a good landing spot because I don't think it is, but it's top 10 draft capital. That gives him every shot.
Yeah, it does. I mean, on the tape's really good as well. I don't know how much of that you got to check out, but
yeah, I mean, I can watch wide receiver tape, but I don't know what do I add. It's not like running back. If you notice, if you read my DLF articles, almost every article I did for DLF, I did the one on Jalen Tolbert, but I didn't really do rookie wide receiver breakdowns because my tape eval for rookie wide receivers is bad. I mean, I don't want to say it's bad, but like it is not my area of expertise. It's for some reason I just struggle to do wide receiver evals.
That's fair. I mean, obviously anyone could throw in the tape and you could tell that he could separate from defenders. Like that's just a given, but he could play in both the slot and outside, so he can be moved around the offense. So
he's good for today's NFL. I mean, he'll be good. He'll come in and play. He'll, I don't think. Yeah, it's clear you guys aren't crazy about the rookie wide receivers, but if there's one guy who ends up hitting big time, who would your money be on? So just in the context of what we're discussing now, that is not Garrett Wilson. I don't think. Garrett Wilson doesn't. Do you disagree with that? Garrett Wilson does not seem like a big time hitter to me. I don't. He's the one that I'm the most confident is going to have a good NFL career. I think he's the safest, the least likely to bust. And he's the one that I would, I'm not betting on the high end ceiling for any of these guys. So I'll just take the guy I think is the best.
That's fair. I mean, I think one of the guys we're going to talk about, the next 2 players, are going to be one of my picks.
Yeah, I actually think the next 3 players are more likely to be a high end hit than Garrett Wilson. But the likelihood that I think Garrett Wilson is the most likely to give you something by a significant margin. The other ones have major red flags. Does Garrett Wilson really have any red flags for you? Like, really? I think I mentioned the one that he really never commanded the top wide receiver role on his team, but he did play with 2 other really good wide receivers, one of whom is significantly better than he is.
Yeah. No really red flags. You're right. It just seems like the ceiling isn't.
Yeah.
Like, he's a guy I'd expect not to put up a top 5 season, but he came in the league and put up a couple top 12, like low-end wide receiver 1, high 2s. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah. Do you have like a good comp for him?
Oh gosh, I saw Stephon Diggs get tossed around a lot.
Okay, I can see that. What about DJ Moore? He's a little DJ Moore.
Yeah, I like that. I just like DJ Moore better as a prospect coming out, but
yeah, DJ Moore is probably a better prospect. Produced more anyway, but he didn't play at good of a school, so there is that. But yeah, Garrett Wilson it's very good. I really don't think, for me, I think if you want to have something and you want to get something good, I think Garrett Wilson will be good. I have no problem with him as a player. I think he will be a good NFL player. If you want that, it's hard to hit on rookie picks. People say, oh, rookie picks this could be this.
We've been spoiled.
Spoiled, yeah. It's hard to pick a good player, even with an early first sometimes. So, if you can pick a player, if you pick Garrett Wilson at 3rd overall in a 1 QB rookie draft, and he gives you seasons of wide receiver 25 as a rookie, 15, 10, 15, 15, and that's his career, that's a hit, not a bust. That's a hit. And I think that's perfectly in his range of outcomes, if not a likely outcome for him. So I'm good with him as my top wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Like I said, he just doesn't have that top end appeal. Like I don't ever see him being like a top 5 guy.
I agree with you, but he's the only one in this class to me that has no serious problem. Everyone else I have a serious, either I have or people is the NFL, have a serious problem. But I have no issue with Garrett Wilson. He checks all the boxes. Only one in the class who checks every box for me.
Mm-hmm.
So he's actually the one I think I have the least to say about. I think everyone thinks he's good. Is there anyone, you really heard anyone who's like, nah, I just out on Garrett Wilson? No, not for me. I haven't heard that opinion at all. All the other guys I have, but he's the one that nobody really seems to hate. Everyone seems to like him.
Yeah, so, I could get on board with that. I mean, there's a couple, at least with the people I talk to, who are like that, but you know, that's a different group of people.
Yeah, your average person doesn't. This opinion that I have is pretty popular. But anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, we're gonna move on to Treylon Perks. This was I kind of changed my pre-draft eval on Treylon Perks. I was one of those guys who took the L and admitted I was wrong because initially I thought he was in a tier of his own, and he's not.
Yeah, he's not.
He's not. I thought he was. After I watched that Alabama game, I'm like, wow, he absolutely shredded Alabama, but
yeah,
not in a tier of his own.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not in a tier of his own. The NFL does not seem to like Treylon Perks. I'm not sure he's not gonna be the first wide receiver taken. He's not gonna be the second wide receiver taken. He might be the third wide receiver taken. He can be the fifth wide receiver taken. So I think, he has a lot of upside. I think he has more upside than Garrett Wilson, but there's, and I've learned this lesson from N'Keal Harry. And I don't want to say that Treylon Perks is N'Keal Harry, but he's kind of similar to N'Keal Harry in a lot of ways. There are similarities. I don't want to say he is, but what I want to learn from that is when there's this feeling, this vibe that the NFL might know something about him that we don't, I do factor that in. And there's just something about him that they don't like. They don't like him. And sometimes it's an off the field issue. I don't think that's the case here. That's why they didn't like Darius Geis. They knew about these things, even though they weren't public. With N'Keal Harry, it was that he just isn't very good. And they knew something we didn't. Something about his game they were seeing that the Dynasty community didn't see. I don't know what that was, what piece of information they had that we didn't. But it feels with Treylon Perks that there's a piece of information that the NFL has. In this case, I'd lean more toward it's something on the field that they have that we don't. I don't know what that is, but it's causing him to drop in my rankings. And right now I still have him as a wide receiver 2, but he could move down behind London to go to 3. I think I'll probably hold him there unless he falls out of the first round entirely. If he falls out of the first round entirely, then all bets are off because then that shows that they really don't like him. Then they really don't see what we see.
Yeah, I don't think he falls out of the first round. Yes. You see, my headset's. I keep spinning the wrong way. My headset's above the bed than below it this time. So,
yeah,
no lumps coming out of the bed this time.
I love that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. He seems like a wide receiver that would have been great in the 2000 NFL draft. You gotta feel that way. Feels like the 2000 NFL draft, he would have been great. He would have been a top 5 pick. But now, feels like he's not the direction the NFL is moving. The NFL is moving speed, speed, speed. Boom, boom, boom. Quick passes, deep threats, a yak attack. And
you got a couple of those guys later.
Yeah, and that's not him. That's not him. He's a player from a past era. Not that those players can't succeed. I mean, Mike Evans still has a place in the NFL. DeAndre Hopkins is still great. Those players exist. But that's not the direction the NFL is moving generally.
Yeah, I understand that one. I mean, he didn't test as well as people thought he was going to at the combine.
No, it wasn't good.
It wasn't good. I mean, I like to value the on-field stuff more, like the GPS speeds more than the 40s. And like he timed really good there.
Yeah.
Game speed's probably faster, but still, there's a couple of concerns. I mean, I know I have to bring it up, and I know I'm not saying this is my opinion. Okay, you know exactly where I'm going with this. The Debo comp has been thrown out there, and
It's not a Debo comp.
I that's what I'm saying. I don't agree with that, but
yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah,
I think a late first rounder. I hope he goes to one of those spots, like maybe the Bills, maybe the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Bills would nuke the Gabe Davis shares, but no, I don't think he's going to make it past Jerry Jones at 24. Do you?
I don't think he is either. I still like that spot for him though. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It's kind of an odd fit though, because that's going to push CeeDee Lamb back into the slot a lot, and I don't know if that's good for CeeDee Lamb. So I don't know how I feel about that one for everybody there. I mean, what's the best case scenario for Treylon Perks? Where would you want him to go? I think it's obvious, right? Green Bay?
Yeah.
22.
I mean, that's going to be the obvious one for everyone. It's pretty obvious they're going to take one of these guys.
Yeah, I just know Garrett Wilson's not going to be there.
Yeah. I don't think Drake London is either.
I agree. And this rumor, maybe, that Burks was out of shape at the combine, it's hard to know. But yeah, I like Treylon Perks. For me, it's just going to depend on, whether he ranks at 1, 2, or 3, assuming he goes in the first round, is going to depend on his landing spot and draft capital mostly.
I think I'm locking him in the first round, but I really want to put him. I put him behind London, who we're going to talk about next already. But there's Jamison Williams and Chris Olave, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, which he could easily fall behind them with their speed.
True, but just because he falls behind them in the NFL draft, not sure going to fall behind in my rookie draft.
I know. I'm just saying. I don't know how late Treylon Perks is going to go in the NFL draft, falling behind these people. I'm not going to move him behind those guys.
I don't think so either. I mean, there is a universe where he could fall behind Jamison Williams, but that universe is pretty slim.
It's a rumored universe, though. It's been rumored.
Well, no, he could fall behind Jamison Williams in the real life NFL draft. I would bet on that. On that. Bet on him falling behind Jamison Williams in the real life NFL draft. I'm talking about our fantasy drafts, our rookie drafts. I don't want to do that.
I mean, Jamison Williams could be wide receiver 1 off the board.
I think it's going to be Garrett Wilson, personally.
That's a fair opinion, but I'm just saying I've seen it.
The majority of mocks I've seen have had Garrett Wilson first. But I think first wide receiver off the board doesn't include Burks in the NFL draft. I think it's between Wilson, London, and Williams are the 3 that it could be. It's not going to be Burks.
I totally agree with you there. I might want to slip Alaba in as a dark horse candidate. He's been getting a couple of visits with like Washington and whatnot, but who knows?
I also don't think Washington 11 is going to be the first wide receiver.
I think it's.
Yeah, there might be money to be made.
There's definitely money to be made.
Jamison Williams on the Cowboys would be interesting.
Very. I don't think he gets that far, though.
He won't get that far. But anyway, I think we said enough about Treylon Perks. I mean, the ceiling's there. The floor is lower than Garrett Wilson. I say it's a lot lower. Treylon Perks screams high bust potential to me. Not saying he's going to, but I'd say he's the most likely of these players. I mean, I almost would say it's more likely Treylon Perks busts than Jamieson Williams or even Olave, who I think are safer. But Treylon Perks' ceiling is high. I mean, he could be an A.J. Brown. He could be an A.J. Brown. He could give you that. He could be that. He could be a top 5 dynasty wide receiver, whereas Garrett Wilson can't. I don't think so. Whereas I think Treylon Perks absolutely. So, he has the potential. Here are the odds for the first wide receiver taken. Pretty much exactly what I was saying. 3-horse race with Wilson as the favorite.
It's a coin flip because last I checked, Wilson and London's over under were both 10.5.
Yeah.
So it's one of them's going to go to the Jets.
Really, I think that do the Falcons take 1 at 8? If they do, I think it'll be Wilson and he'll be first. If the Falcons pass, then I think it'll be London to the Jets at 10 and he'll be first. That's what I think it comes down to really, is do the Falcons take Wilson or not? Because the Jets want London, it seems like to me at this point.
I think we could lock that one in.
Yeah, well, if he's there.
If he's there, it's one of my picks I'm more confident in, where I can project their fantasy landing spot.
Surprise us and take London today. But yeah, have we said enough about Treylon Perks? I think so.
I think we have. I think we can move on to Drake London, which Drake London's tape in his final year is crazy production.
I know. He, 88 receptions is good. I like that.
He only played 8 games because he got hurt.
I know. Isn't that crazy? 88 receptions and over 1,000 yards in 8 games. Isn't that nuts?
Crazy. It was
production's there. I think if he doesn't get hurt, he's the clear one, right? He's the clear one by a mile. He's the clear one.
That season would have been monstrous that he would have put up.
He's the clear wide receiver one. Because he did get hurt, though, he comes in at 3 for me. I assume you still have him. You have him 1.
I do.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have some issues, but it's hard to argue with the production.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to argue about the production. I mean, I have to bring it up that people on Twitter are concerned about his separating. I don't buy into that much. If you win contested catches, you could win in the NFL.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry about the narrative. He produced. I'm not worried so much about how he produced.
No, I'm not. And I put money that he's going to the Jets at 10. I feel it.
I would put money on that. I would. I'm fine putting money on that. Now, I don't think that's a good landing spot at all. I don't want to go to the Jets. I don't want to go there. I don't think that's good. So we'll just do this now. Drake London goes to the Jets with a 10th overall pick. In Dynasty, would you prefer Drake London or Elijah Moore?
I want to say Drake London with the draft capital.
Yeah, I think I would lean Drake London, but I'd have them closer. I'm almost sure that if that happened, Drake London would be a sell to me and Elijah Moore would be a buy. I'd be in on Elijah Moore over Drake London at prices. So I do not like the Jets landing spot. The problem is, where's London going to go that's a good landing spot?
There's not many.
There's not many because he's not going to make it to a good landing spot. I'm
okay with the Jets, though. I'm fine with it. I think Zach Wilson's going to take a step.
Yeah. What about, a lot of them are bad, though. If it's not the Jets, Atlanta at 8 is not much better. Washington at 11 is even worse than the Jets for me. That's even worse. And, Philly or Houston are a couple of the other options.
I think Philly's locked into a wide receiver. I don't know which one at this point. After that trade.
Yeah, I think they could take a wide receiver, but Philly would not be a good landing spot for anybody. Houston.
I think these places are okay. Not for year one production, but the odds that they choose a quarterback or they have a chance to pick Stroud or Bryce Young or someone else that emerges next year. You just take the dip on year one.
Yeah, of all of these, I think in some ways, I don't know, the Jets are actually the worst of all.
I think it's the Falcons. They could finish bottom next year, but the division's not good.
Falcons have not much else on the roster at all. That's the only thing other than Pitts. Yeah,
that's true. And, these other teams have extra picks next year. Philly has an extra pick. Houston has an extra pick.
Yeah, Houston is not could be worse, but we'll see. We'll see. Jamison Williams may have been the clear one if he stayed healthy. I don't think so.
There's an argument to be made.
For the NFL, maybe. For fantasy, probably not. Although he does actually produce the most of any of these guys.
Darren reading our show sheet?
Yeah,
it's on there. We're gonna get to that specific question. We have that marked on the show sheet for when we get to Olave.
So, what do we think of London? Is there really? So now that we finished the tier 2 guys, Wilson, Perks, and London, is there a universe? You have it, London,
Burks,
Wilson, London, Burks, Wilson, and I have it, Wilson, Burks, London. Is there a universe in which those are not your top 3 wide receivers, assuming they all go in the first round, could you be swayed? Or are you going to stick with those as your top 3 no matter what?
I think I am, but George Pickens is down there, and he's kind of swaying me a little bit. I don't know. I'm still sticking to my rankings. Like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick to my rankings. Landing spots are tiebreakers.
Yeah. For me, I would say that landing spots are tiebreakers. So, and draft capital, and then how you weigh those together. But draft capital is the most important. If London, Burks, and Wilson all go in the first round, I won't be swayed. I won't be swayed. There is one exception. If anyone goes to Baltimore, I will be swayed. They go to Baltimore, I will be swayed. They go to Baltimore, they will drop. That's the one place where I won't have it. That's the one place where a fantasy disaster is locked in for years and years and years. And I'm just not waiting years and years and years. You can say the Jets are a bad landing spot, right? But Zach Wilson is either going to improve or he's going to be out the door very soon. You can say Washington is a bad landing spot, but you don't know who their quarterback's going to be next year. The Ravens, you know who it's going to be. You know who it's going to be for years, and there's no getting out of it. So that one, if anyone goes to the Ravens at 14, I will drop them down my rankings. Just like I did with Rashad Bateman last year. Not that I like Bateman anyway.
I don't think I wouldn't count that as going to happen.
I think it's highly unlikely, but that's the one situation where I will make an exception.
Yeah, I know. I know you had to throw it out there. It's just, so unlikely.
Yeah, unfortunately. See, the thing with Hurts in Philly is that Hurts is either going to improve as a passer or he's going to be out the door. The Ravens want Lamar there. They're not getting rid of Lamar. They're getting that extension done. They want Lamar to be a lifetime Raven. So you have 5, 6, 7 more years of Lamar. Hurts is either going to be a better passer or he'll be out the door. So I don't feel the same way about Philly. It's the Ravens is the one that and the Ravens also already have too many. They already can't support the receiving weapons they have, let alone another one. It would nuke everyone, all the wide receivers there. They'd be all unusable. So it would be great for the Ravens in real life. I actually think it's a good move. I actually think if the Ravens took Drake London, it would be a good move. It would be a good move for them. Because imagine trying to stop that offense if you had to worry about all of those wide receivers, Andrews, the running game, and also Lamar. It would open up things for the running game. But for fantasy, it would be horrible.
Yeah, that's fair.
You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Good for real life, bad for fantasy.
That's why I'm afraid of it, because I think it's a smart strategy. If I were the GM of the Ravens, I'd consider it. It's not my job to play for fantasy football. I don't care. I don't give a shit about these fantasy football managers on the internet. That's not my job if I'm the GM of the Ravens. And no free agent wide receiver will ever sign with you because they know they're not going to put up the numbers. So your only opportunity to get a good wide receiver is in the draft. So yeah, I am worried about it. It's the one thing I don't want to see on night one of draft night. Okay, totally off-topic question. Maybe a little with the Ravens here. From the recovering Ridley Truther. Trying to acquire Andrews in a 1.5 10 premium PPR Superflex League. Is Najee plus Ertz plus Alberto for Andrews in 207 too much? I'm rebuilding. I already have Freiermuth. You think this is too much?
I think it's too much.
I kind of feel like it's too much. I feel like if you're rebuilding, you should... I mean, it's fine. It just feels like Ertz and Alberto together are worth more than the 207. And it's only 1.5 10 in premium, not even 1.75. So Najee is worth more than Andrews to me. So I just feel like this is an overpay. If you're going to do this, at least take out the Ertz and Alberto, or just send Ertz for the 207. Do that. Get rid of Ertz and get a pick for that. How about that? That might be a good move actually out of this, is just send Ertz for the 207. Take that part out.
That would be a good pivot.
Yeah, in a rebuild. Okay. When I factor in situation, the situation I care about the most is when it's going to last the longest and the team is doing well. That's why I'm so out on the Ravens, because they're not going to change. You don't change when you're winning. These teams are all bad. They're all bad. So they're going to change what they're doing. And Chris says it's way too much. for Andrews. And 2.5 points for this isn't what we thought it was. This is 2.5 points, not 1.5. In that case,
it's 1.5 on top of
extra 1.5 extra.
Oh,
that's different. Okay, then I'll take the Andrews. Yeah, that's different.
Okay.
Extra is not the same thing. I usually assume it's total, not extra. So be clear on that in the future. But yes, makes sense. We will get to Sky more. Don't worry. If we haven't gotten to your player yet, we will. We will.
They're all on here. They're all on here.
We've just gotten past 3 players, and I think we need to move on to the next player.
Yep. We're transitioning into.
We just completed tier 2. Now we're moving on to tier 3.
I have a note at the end of tier 2 that I wanted to place. Whichever one of the 3 falls, just take them. Honestly, out of these 3 guys, if they all get this capital we expect them to.
I agree with you. It's not going to be a year, and Kenneth Walker, value-wise, is in the tier with all of them. Not going to be a year I'm trading up. I either want quarterbacks are a little weird to value. We'll talk about that when we do our mock draft next week. But, running backs and wide receivers, I either want Breece Hall or I want my whoever falls. I'm not trading up this year.
No, I agree. Totally. Just let your league mates make that decision for you. It'll be easy.
Exactly. I'm with it. So let's move on to the next player.
Yep, we're transitioning into tier 3, and at the top of tier 3, you have Jamison Williams from Alabama. So it does look like the NFL likes him more than you do, and the Dynasty community kind of does. There's been top 10 buzz to Atlanta at 8. I've heard a lot about that.
I've heard about that. I think top 10 is a little rich. I think that for me, I'm still going with my prediction that Wilson goes to Atlanta at 8 and London to the Jets at 10. So that leaves Williams the pick of the litter after that, I think, for NFL. And then, the most likely landing spot, I like New Orleans at 16. I think could be interested. They could be interested. But there are some bad landing spots. Washington at 11, not good. That would be not good. Minnesota at 12 would be interesting. And then Houston, I don't think Baltimore goes there, but Philly. Chargers at 17 would be very interesting.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it's a tough year to do your own rookie research. And I do have Walker over all the wide receivers for now. But either way, what do we think about Jamieson Williams as a prospect?
I mean, blazing speed. Obviously, I don't think I needed to say that. I think it's pretty obvious when you throw on the tape that he's a burner. One thing I do have to mention that he's ahead of his schedule on his ACL recovery, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I know.
He actually produced in 2021 as well.
Yeah, it's crazy that he's all his production though is really in 2021, right?
Yeah, that's a transfer from Ohio State. Yeah,
112 yards in 2019, and then 154 in 2020. So he didn't really produce much before that. It's weird. He transferred to Alabama to get more playing time at wide receiver. You don't see that very often.
No, it worked out in his favor. So props to him for that one. But
yeah, we did Sky Moore to the Steelers, lock it up. Yeah, I can see that. I'm getting a bunch of alerts, sleeper alerts, but they're not. They're
not news.
No, they're not news. Unfortunately. And then NFL teams, you never know. You never know. NFL teams don't play around if you can't pass block. I mean, that depends on more for running backs and wide receivers. I mean, wide receivers don't pass block, but wide receiver run blocking doesn't matter so much. But anyway, Jameson Williams.
Yeah, where do you see him going? Do you see him going to Atlanta? Or?
No, I mean, I think he goes after that, but I like the Chargers at 17. I think he's the speed element they need, right? I actually think he fits in well there. They have the big man, they have the slot receiver, and they need the speed element. I think that would be a good fit.
It would definitely be a good fit. I have a feeling, and it's just me being biased, that the Eagles are going to swoop in and take him at their first pick. And they're going to try to get Bryce Young next year, which would be incredible for Jameson Williams. But
yeah, so if Jamison Williams went to the Eagles, would you prefer Jamison Williams or Devonta Smith?
Probably Devonta Smith.
Devonta Smith, right? Because I like Devonta Smith better in the first place. And his rookie.
We'd be building Alabama NFL.
I know. But yeah, if Jamison Williams went there, I would prefer Devonta Smith over him. I think Devonta Smith is the better overall player.
Yes.
It's not like Jamison Williams didn't produce in college.
No. We'll see how high the speed carries players up the board, because it has in the past.
I know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to say the least.
Because I don't think many people had Henry Ruggs as wide receiver 1 off the board that one year.
I think some people started to pick up on that right as we were getting there.
It was like 2 days before, though. it was like right there.
You excited for the Sixers game?
Yeah, I'm rocking the gear. I'm ready.
I love it. But yeah, so is there a universe in which Jamison Williams can pass the top guys? For me, not really, but I guess you never know.
IRL, yes. In fantasy drafts, no.
The ACL tear really hurt his chances.
Yeah, it did. It
just adds more risk to him. If he didn't come with that risk, I think people would be more interested.
Definitely. I could agree with that. It's a shame it happened so late, too.
I know. But yeah, anything else to say about him? I think most people know about him and his
most
speed.
People know about him. Yeah. We can move on to Chris Olave, who is your other wide receiver in tier 3. And I agree with your first bullet point on here. He should have come out after 2020.
Yeah, he should have come out. He didn't help himself by going back. He was wide receiver 3 this year behind Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So, yeah. Speed helped, though. 4.39 speed was good. And then, I would not move Chris Olave up if he goes to the Packers or Chiefs, probably.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, I know Andy Reid was saying that the offense is going to be the same. Maybe Chris Olave is going to be that insert over MVS, but I'm not. No.
Chris Olave, for me, I could see moving him above Jamison Williams. I do think that he's the clear 5 in this class for me. I have Jamison Williams at 4. I have Olave at 5. And I don't think that the other guys are that close to him. So it's unlikely that I'm going to move the other ones above him. Chris Olave is the last guy in this class that I really like. Everyone else, I have serious problems. But I like him. It's kind of take everything I said about Garrett Wilson and take 10% off of it, honestly. Like, speed is good. He's a good player. He's good at everything. Doesn't have a lot of red flags. But just take 10 to 15% off of what I think about Garrett Wilson, and you have Chris Olave.
Did you see his reception perception for his final college season?
No. Was it good or bad?
A lot of green.
A lot of green. I like that.
A lot of green. So we'll see how high he goes in real life. He's one of those interesting ones that I can't seem to place down. Like, we've limited the landing spots for Garrett Wilson. We've limited for Drake London. I don't think we could do that for Olave just yet. He can go anywhere.
That's true. Yeah. He's not a lock to go in the first round. I think the first 4 are pretty much a lock, but Olave, I don't know. I do think he goes in the first round. And I do think he's likely to fall far enough to go to Green Bay or Kansas City. But I did put that on the show sheet. Just because he goes to Green Bay or Kansas City, don't move Olave up over the top guys. He's just not that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Like I said, we said this earlier. George Pickens is the only guy I'm going to move up, but that's because there's different things about him, which we're going to talk about actually next in your tier 4. Do you want to move on from Olave?
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. Let's go into George Pickens. Sadly, he had the ACL tear as well. A lot of injuries in this class I've been noticing.
I know. There are actually a lot of injuries in this class.
But you put he's an outside-only wide receiver. I agree with you there. Limited route tree in college, it looked like, on his targets.
Yeah.
Majority of his targets were goes or hitches. So he's a tough player, though. Did you see that block highlight against Bama? There's block highlights of George Pickens. So he's a willing blocker.
I like that. NFL teams are going to like that.
for sure. And then his freshman production was pretty good as well.
Yeah. I mean, I like him, but nah.
It's the injury really.
Injury never really produced. Never put that full season of production on there. I can't go into the slot really. Not sure he's going to be that great, but I don't dislike him.
I think he gets late day one. Maybe he might sneak into the late day one. I think early day two is more likely, but
I don't think he goes on day one.
I think it's a possibility.
I think
I'm higher on him than you are. So
some of the guys we're going to talk about later are more likely to go on day one. Even if I like Pickens better as a player, the other guys could pass him if they go on day one. Pickens, I don't think goes on day one.
All right, I have to ask you about this landing spot. Early day two to Chicago.
Ugh.
I just have to throw it out there because that's the one I'm seeing a lot of. That or the Lions.
I've seen Chicago on receivers at 39 and 48, and sometimes 71, sometimes twice, double dipping, often. So, yeah, I mean that's not a good landing spot at all. Would you prefer Pickens drafted at 39 overall or Darnell Mooney?
Ooh, that's close for me.
Existing player or the player coming in? I think I want the player of Darnell Mooney.
I might want Pickens, but
I just don't see it. I think Darnell Mooney is better.
I just write Pickens in my rankings. Like his testing wasn't something to write home about, but it was good. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, I'm just skeptical. I'm skeptical that he's going to make an immediate impact. I'm skeptical that he's really all that great, and he's just okay.
See, that's fair though, because this isn't a year where wide receiver 4 is going to be like almost Jalen Waddle,
Yeah, no, not this year.
It's not one of those years. So,
unfortunately, Pickens isn't a wide receiver 1 either. I don't think.
I think there's potential for it, but I don't necessarily. I'm not going to project that. That'd be wild to project with anyone in this class, pretty much almost. So
yeah.
So,
but I do like Pickens, unlike the next 3 players we're going to talk. Next 3 players we're going to talk about, who I don't like, but are being moved up through circumstances that are not because of what I think about them.
So,
at least Pickens, somewhat.
So we're going to get into Jahan Dotson out of Penn State here. You could start because I
don't see anything here. I mean, his best season came in year 4. Can't beat press. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
I'm gonna eliminate the bias here because I am a Penn State fan, and I usually get behind the Penn State players that go out in the draft, like Freiermuth, Parsons. Barkley coming out as a prospect was insane. We know that. That didn't work out too well. I'm sorry I had to bring that one back up, but I kind of agree. He's probably going to fall around this range for me too. He's got solid hands, former track champion. Maybe day one. I think early day 2 is more likely for Dotson, but
yeah, I mean, the only reason Dotson is this high in my rankings is because he could go day 1. Like, I've seen him on the Chiefs in mocks and at 29 or 30. So this is the only reason Dotson is this high. I don't like him at all. He would be way lower if it were up to me. But clearly the NFL doesn't agree with me.
Yeah, you think he's a slot guy at the next level permanently?
I mean, that's very possible.
It definitely is. I just had to ask because his size and build.
Yeah,
really.
But
really suggests that. It does suggest that for the next couple of players too. 5'11".
They let smaller guys play outside more than they used to. Like Devonta Smith is small, but he's not limited to the slot. For example.
Yeah, that's a good comparison, but protection came all in this final year. I mean, his junior year wasn't that bad. It wasn't
great.
Wasn't great.
I'm not seeing it. So I'll let the NFL tell me maybe that I'm wrong, but I don't see it. So if he doesn't get the draft capital, he's going to plummet down my rankings because I wasn't interested. He's only this high because I'm expecting him to possibly go in the first round, and then I'll have to have him this high.
Yeah, that's fair. Draft capital is going to determine a lot. Like, this is just going in.
Especially with a player I dislike. If they don't get the draft capital, then they're going to plummet.
Next up, a player who looks like they're going to get draft capital. Sky Moore out of Western Michigan. I've been seeing a lot of late first round buzz.
Yeah, I know. Him and Jahan Dotson are kind of similar to me in that I don't get it, but the NFL does.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, looking against his big competition, I know Western Michigan isn't that big of a school. They got to play Michigan and they got to play Pittsburgh this year. They're like two biggest matchups. He struggled against Michigan, but he thrived against Pitt. So take that for what you will, but I don't know. Well, I think he's another guy that could be limited to the slot in the pros. He's smaller than Dotson.
Yeah, I mean, I put it on there, but I kind of was like, is he gonna get out of the slot like Elijah Moore or get stuck there like Rondale Moore? And I don't know.
We'll see.
I lean more toward the latter.
I do as well.
We will see. Sky Moore is an interesting prospect, but not someone. Again, the NFL is telling me I need to be more in on Sky Moore than I would be otherwise.
That's a fair assumption. And then the last wide receiver of the tier, we got Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. Now, I put this on there because I remember hearing about it. I remember everyone talking about it. 12.7% drop rate in his career. That's
How
concerning.
reliable are those statistics even from North Dakota State, though? Like, I mean, I don't know. But either way, I'm not that worried about that.
Not that worried about that?
No.
I assume you're more than I am. I mean, this isn't a Jamar Chase kind of thing.
No, I totally dislike him, but he keeps going in the... I liked him at the beginning of the rookie process when he was a 4th-round pick. I liked him then. I liked him a lot then, but now, not really.
Yeah, I mean, really. we have to bring up that he is an elite athlete. He got the perfect 10 RAS score.
I know. I like that, but he didn't even produce at a small school, really. I don't know. I think we might be doing a little bit of projection with him. I don't know if it's there.
Yeah, we'll see where he goes.
I saw him 26 to the Titans a couple of times. Not that that's a great landing spot, but with first-round capital. I've seen him 28 to Green Bay. I've seen him to Kansas City, too. Yep. So,
on the late first round, early second. Well, this is where it gets hard with wide receivers because it's how the NFL values them, how it shakes out. Like, we know London, Wilson, Jameson Williams are going to go in that first round. We know Burks is probably going to end up there, too. But these guys, it's just question marks.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And the draft capital is really dependent because we just went through 3 players I don't really like, and Dotson, Moore, and Watson. Not that I don't like Watson, but as new value, I don't like him. I don't like any of these players, but if they go in the first, they're going to be up here. And if they don't, and they fall much below the early second, they're going to fall significantly.
Yep. I forgot. You have David Bell this year as well.
I do. But now we get back to a player that I actually really like. But, not enough to go to bat for him. And I'm worried he's going to go on day 3. So he's falling down my rankings. I really liked him. Felt bad. I mean, production's there. I really thought
really there.
But then the breakout age is great. Production's great. But, yeah, I know. I would be disappointed if I had 105, 108, 110. And, yeah, absolutely. Jerry Jones could grab Burks round 1. But, yeah, I'm not going to go to bat for David Bell. If he falls in day 3, the NFL knows what they know. But he's a prospect that I really liked. I had ranked higher at the start of the process. But it's obvious that the draft capital is not going to be there.
Yeah, the athletic testing was not great.
Not great. I'm kind of a production snob, so the production's there. But
it is. I mean, he's got one of the better breakout ages. So,
and he hurt Rondale Moore. He hurt Rondale Moore's draft stock for sure.
200%. But yeah, I mean, the production's there. It's just is the draft capital, like you said. If he goes day 2, I think I'll be in as well.
Yeah,
but it's gonna be round 3. I don't think it's gonna be round 2.
I know. If it's round 3, I'm gonna start to be more and more skeptical.
But yeah, the production's there. It's just that RAS is not
It's really bad. Yeah, it's really bad. And he was slow too.
Yeah, was it a 4.65 40?
Yeah, very slow.
That's not good. Speed score wasn't good either. Like,
no, it's all bad. All the testing was bad.
Well, we'll see where the NFL values them. I think that's what we have to do with a lot of these players coming up here.
Kinda.
Where the NFL values them, but we're gonna get into tier 5 now with a player I kind of like. I like John Meschi out of Alabama.
So do I. I think he's a little underrated. I mean, just because other players produced at Alabama doesn't mean that John Meschi was bad. I think John Meschi is good. I think John Meschi, is probably not going to go in the first round, but I think he'll go on day 2 for sure. His draft range is tighter to me than some other prospects. And he was good. I mean, 96 catches for 11, 42, and 8 in the final year. I mean, that's then 916 yards and 6 touchdowns the previous year. That's at Alabama. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. He hit the production. Obviously, he didn't test because of the injury, but I think he would have tested well. And he probably
would. Yeah, and he'll be ready. Unlike Jamison Williams, he'll be ready in time to start the season.
Yeah,
but
I believe June.
Yeah,
So he'll be cleared by June.
He's a good player, but again, we're talking about another version of some of the players we talked about earlier, but now we're taking a further step back. We're talking about a player who I think will be a solid NFL contributor, but I don't know how much that's going to be worth. But I'm not going to be out on him. He's going to be a player that in the second round I'll be considering. I can't see myself being out on John Meschi.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah,
I think testing would have been really big for him.
Yeah, it would have helped, but he's a player that I think the NFL will like, and a player that's going to be drafted in my rookie drafts for sure in the second round.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you said, they're transitioning to speed, and he's got all of it. So
I know he has that. I mean, he can do everything. 96 receptions is good.
Yeah, he would have easily run in the 4.3s as well. So
I know we didn't get to see it. Though.
I'm bummed I didn't get to see that, but I think we can move on to our next prospect.
Yeah.
Wandel Robinson out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
There's some concerns.
There are some serious concerns. He played at Kentucky. He had the target share. The athletic testing was not great. It's another one who wants to be like Debo. It isn't Debo. I don't know. I don't know if I see it with Wandel Robinson. A lot of people that I trust also that I hear on other podcasts are not a fan of Wandel Robinson.
Nah, it's unfortunate too because he was one of those players in the early draft process that people were really excited about. He's young, he's only 21.
It just kind of feels like the steam has kind of come out.
Athletic testing kind of did it for a lot of these players. I mean, he ran a decent 40. It wasn't bad at 4.44, but the other test just didn't.
Yeah, and I just kind of feel like he might end up miscast in the NFL. He probably needs to be used a very specific way, and he's not just going to succeed. He's not like John Meschi, who I think can just walk into any offense and play any role, and he'll be fine. Wandel Robinson needs to have plays and schemes tailored for him, like it was in college when he was the man for everything. Everything ran around him. I think that he might struggle to work in an NFL offense where that's not the case. So not really so in on him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if he goes in the third, I'll take a chance on him.
I'll take a chance on him, but he needs to go somewhere where I think he'll be used. Like if he ends up in Houston or something like that, an offense where I'm just kind of, or Seattle with Pete Carroll, like I'm just not going to be interested. But if he ends up somewhere more exciting, like the Chargers, or always the Chargers, or even Arizona or something, Dallas, Buffalo,
Kansas City, got to throw that one out there.
Yeah, San Francisco even.
Yeah.
Where there's a little bit more of a chance that he could get utilized in like a good way, then I might be more in. But he's one of those few players that I feel like is landing spot dependent to me. I care more about his landing spot than I would about like John Meschi. Like I said just now, John Meschi, I think, is not really landing spot dependent as much. Whereas all I care about with him is good quarterback or bad. Whereas with Wandel Robinson, I have more detailed concerns about his landing spot than just good quarterback or bad.
Yeah, I could totally get behind that. I mean, usage is going to be a lot. I feel like that could be said about Treylon Perks as well, to be quite honest with you. I mean, to a lesser degree, of course, because obviously
Treylon Perks is actually much better.
Well, I'm saying that he's much better, but I'm just saying like he has the backfield usage as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Different ways, but I think we can move on to our next prospect in Justin Ross.
Oh, Justin Ross.
This one has me bummed.
Man, Justin Ross's freshman year, I mean, 46 receptions for 1,009.
Oh my goodness.
2018 as a freshman. Isn't that insane? I mean, he was 18 at the time?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was.
Justin Ross just came in and torched everything. And then 2019, he was still good, but T. Higgins kind of reemerged ahead of him. And then it all went off the rails after that.
Yep, injury concerns derailed his career, and it's unfortunate because the potential is there. He's got a good size, doesn't have the best speed, but
yeah, is the old Justin Ross still in there? That's all it is. Is he still in there?
I hope he is, but it's tough to determine.
I do think that just because he went to Clemson, he'll go on day 2. I don't think Justin Ross falls to day 3. I think someone takes a chance.
I get behind that.
Yeah, I think, he could be a good, I saw this, on his page, but he could be a good double dip option for Green Bay at 92. If they go a wide receiver in the first and then another one in the third.
Yeah, I could see that. It's very possible.
Yeah, he could also, he could end up in Arizona. He could, teams that need New England. Not that's a great landing spot. He could end up as another wide receiver in Pittsburgh. They need another wide receiver. Chargers always do. Cleveland. There's a lot of teams who need somebody. Atlanta could be another team that double dips at 8 and 74. There are some teams that need multiple wide. Chicago could double dip in the second and third, and he could be their one they pick in the third. So, he'll have a decent opportunity. But again, Justin Ross is very good. I miss him. I miss the old Justin Ross. I hope he comes back. But yeah, he needs an opportunity to play. He's just not.
Oh, there you go.
So many wide receivers already, though. I think
they do.
I think they're full.
I think they can do it.
Maybe that would. Imagine
how much. They're the GM.
Laviska Chenault truther at that point.
We'd be fully out. I hope he get traded at that point.
Yeah, well, they don't seem to want to do that.
I know. Teams want to do that.
Round 2, then that does show us the NFL isn't as concerned about his health, but I don't expect him to go in round 2. I think he'll go in round 3.
There's so many wide receivers. Maybe if a couple of these names weren't there.
Yeah, there's just so many options that I don't think he'll go in round 2.
I totally agree.
Some of these, we're going to talk. Ross is the 13th, what I call really relevant guy. Not Laviska say no. I love it. But Ross is the 13th relevant guy. And there are not going to be 13 wide receivers on the first 3 days of the draft, I don't think. On the first 2 days. So some of these guys are going to end up on day 3. I think Justin Ross is going to be on day 2, though. Let's, are we good? Laviska should not. I love that. Okay. Are we good with Justin Ross?
Yeah, I think we're good with Justin Ross. I think we could transition into your article about Jalen Tolbert.
Yes. Is it Tolbert or Tolbert?
That's a great question. I know people do it both ways.
Tolbert, but no one's ever corrected me. But I don't know. I guess I've heard people say Tolbert. But anyway,
I've heard it both ways. I'm looking it up.
He played at South Alabama. He had 82 receptions for 1,474 and 8 in his final year. So great final year production. He was decent as a junior too, 64 for 1085 and 8 as well. And yeah, his target share, market share is amazing. His film that I watched was decent. But it was difficult because there wasn't a lot of film on Jalen Tolbert. And the quarterback was was awful. So it's hard to evaluate him. And he wasn't super fast at 4.49. I know that sounds fast, but it was in the bottom half of receivers who ran this year. And, he's currently projected in the third round of the NFL draft, 77th. And he ranks, with that draft capital in mind. And I think he would be good in the NFL, but he's raw. He's definitely raw.
Yeah, hard to find tape on Southern Alabama. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it was hard. And he's also an older prospect. He's already 23, which I care less at wide receiver than I would at running back, but it is a slight markdown for him.
Yeah, decent size. I mean, put up some numbers. It's just 82 for 1,500 about. Not quite 1,500.
Yeah, he would be a great, he'd be a great pick for a team just kind of looking to develop someone who they don't need him to play right away. I mean, I don't know, Tampa Bay could pick him at 91, or even if Cincinnati wants to load up and put someone, in the depth when they have to cut Tyler Boyd or something. Arizona, Buffalo, also depth, looking for depth. Dallas, looking for depth. A lot of teams would be interested.
Yeah, totally.
We probably won't get to Veles Jones, but yeah, Veles Jones is, he turns 25 in May.
That's less than ideal.
I know, yeah, not ideal. Veles Jones is the same age within a month as DJ Moore. And he's older than AJ Brown. So I don't know about him.
Yeah.
But I think is that good on Jalen Tolbert?
Yeah. Yeah, the target share's there. I think I have to bring that up. He had a 33.4% target share, which is crazy in the 95th percentile, but
I know. It's all in the article too.
Yeah, of course it is. And then he dominated at Southern Alabama, which, I mean, you could take into the concern the level of competition, I guess.
It is concerning. I mean, I always downgrade players who don't play against a higher level of competition. So I do have a slight concern, but I'm not going to not draft him. His draft capital is critical, though. If he doesn't go on day 2, I'm out. I won't. If he goes on day 3, I'm just done. I'm done with him. And there are other players that I feel that way about. I mean, but him and Wandel Robinson are probably the first 2 players where if they go on day 3, I'm just done.
Yeah, that's understandable. But I think we can move on to Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati.
Another player who he needs to actually not go on day 3 for me to be interested. But I am interested if he does.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he destroyed the combine, actually.
He did, yeah. I wouldn't have expected it, but he's a recent riser for sure. He's moved on to the relevant tier, the last player in the relevant tier for me, the 15th. He was a sleeper like a couple of weeks, not even weeks, but I would say like a month ago, months ago. He was like in the 40, 45, 50 of rookie drafts overall. Now I have him at 25 in 1 QB, and I think I have him at 30 in Superflex, so he's significantly higher. No longer a sleeper. And yeah, I mean, he's someone who slides into a big slot role potentially in the NFL. I like him. You got anything good to add?
I mean, he didn't run a crazy route tree in college. He played with Desmond Ridder, so like a lot of the time people are watching Desmond Ridder play because Yeah,
Desmond Ridder is a little bit more exciting than Alec Pierce, I think.
First round buzz, but I mean, 55% of his targets were hitches or goes, so he'll have to work on that in the NFL. But if he could translate with his athletic skills, I think he'll be fine. I don't know if he gets day 2 though.
Lately it looks like he will, but I don't think it's a lock. I don't think it's a lock at all.
It'll be interesting to see with the comp picks. Maybe he sneaks in. You never know.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, we'll see if he sneaks in. I think there's some round 2 buzz for Alec Pierce.
That'd be something.
That would be. But anyway, anything to add? I'm pretty good with him.
Oh yeah, slot guy. We'll see how he transitions to the next level.
So yeah, at this point, everyone else is just like kind of a flyer, and I don't really bother to do much with these later guys because it's the NFL draft that really just decides if I have any interest at this point. But there were three names that I felt were worth an early mention as players that I think will be drafted. I'm pretty confident these three more, they're in the sleeper range. They're not the 15 guys we talked about, but I'm pretty confident that come rookie drafts after the NFL draft, we will be drafting these three. Everyone else, I think, could go undrafted or could be completely irrelevant. But these three, I think you'll at least draft them. So I wanted to add 3 players. And then we'll save the rest of the guys for post-NFL draft. If they're drafted, we'll talk about them. If they're not drafted, then we don't have to. Or if they're 6th, 7th round picks and irrelevant. But we'll add 3 more guys. So this is a major tier down. Alec Pierce, like I just mentioned, was 25th overall in my rookie rankings. The next guy who we're going to talk about is Khalil Shakir, 34th overall. So 9 spots lower. A significant tier drop. But what do you have about Khalil Shakir from Boise State?
I just wanted to break away from the draft prospect for a minute just to say that the Seahawks are very much in the mix for Baker Mayfield. Where'd
you get that? Sleeper?
Matt Lombardo on Twitter.
But we know that. I mean,
I know we know that. I just had to say that it's reemerging again as we get closer to draft time. But
I think that the Browns offseason workout, I'm just checking my phone to make sure there's no imminent trade. I think with the Browns offseason workout deadline soon. Now, the weird thing is they signed Geno Smith. So what are they going to do? I mean, if they trade for Baker Mayfield, I guess Drew Lock is just nothing. I mean, I do think there's a good chance that Geno Smith would start for Drew Lock. But I think that it makes sense that they're in on Baker Mayfield. And I think the Baker deal gets done soon because I think that they just want to stop talking about it. They want to stop talking about Baker Mayfield. But here, why don't we do this? Let's finish out Khalil Shakir, Calvin Austin, and Romeo Dubs, and then I'll talk about Baker Mayfield, and I'll talk about this.
Yeah.
Close the show.
But, as for Khalil Shakir, he's actually been emerging as a favorite sleeper in the mock drafts I've been doing. I've been running a couple of those with some good people.
Yeah.
I mean, he was decent athletic testing. I mean, like I said, nothing to, write home about, but still not bad. He's pretty good.
Yeah, I mentioned Khalil Shakir because I think there's an outside chance he sneaks into day 2. It's unlikely. If he does, then we'll be talking about him. If he doesn't, I always at that point prefer to take running back sleepers, over these nothing wide receivers. So I'm just not that interested in Khalil Shakir. He's okay. He's fine. But I'm going to take running back flyers over him every single time.
He had the college production. He has the testing. Like it wasn't a bad prospect profile, but it's not one,
could be better.
Could be better. It's not overly fantastic, but it's not bad.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So next player we have to talk about is Calvin Austin out of Memphis. I think we have to bring up his 40 first.
Yeah. It was good.
Blazing speed, 4.32.
He's tiny.
Yeah. I put in parentheses, he's the same size basically as Tutu Atwell. Ooh.
Yeah, I think after Tutu Atwell, I think I'm good. I think I'll pass on Calvin Austin entirely.
I agree with you there. He had good production though his junior and senior years, but
yeah, he's gonna be a pass for me. He's too small. I learned this lesson the first time.
Yeah,
he'll be a no thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then Romeo Dubs, I need to, watch some more tape on him.
I think it's Dubs.
Yeah, I think it's Dubs as well.
I haven't looked too much into him, but he's also getting some discussion, and he was drafted in most DLF, rookie mocks this month. So I want to just toss him a mention, keep him on your radar, but I'm not excited really.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really, good production with Carson Strong, but
I think he's referring to Khalil Shakir as who's on the right, and I would agree with that.
Yeah, definitely.
But Romeo Dubs, not so much.
No.
Okay. Well, I think we're good on the wide receiver class. If you noticed, even though there were more of them, we did get through the intro faster, but we actually spent less time talking about the wide receivers than we did the running backs, just because it's a lot of meh, and I'm more interested in the NFL landing spots and draft capital than I was with the running backs. And in some ways, just because there's so many of them and a lot of them are so close together, my takes aren't as strong on who I prefer one over another. So, we have our tiers, and I'll just review the tiers, and then we'll talk about Baker Mayfield. We'll talk about the wide receivers not reporting to close the show. So, like I said, I have Garrett Wilson, Treylon Perks, and Drake London in the first tier. Then I have Jameson Williams and Chris Olave, or the second tier, I guess.
Second tier.
Then it comes Jamison Williams and Chris Olave. Then George Pickens, Jahan Dotson, Sky Moore, Christian Watson, and David Bell make up the next tier. And then, the tier after that is Meschi, Wandel Robinson, Justin Ross, Tolbert, and Alec Pierce. And then everyone else is the last tier after that. So, yeah, that's how the wide receivers shake out for me. And I'm very excited for the NFL draft. Take a look at it. Now, let's talk about Baker Mayfield. I think this deal gets done, right? This deal gets in. And if the Baker Mayfield news happens during the week, I'll do a separate video on that. But for now, we're here. You're here. Probably will play out by the time we do our next show. Baker Mayfield, I think it plays out, right? I mean, you got to get him out of there. And really, Carolina, you have Robbie Anderson going on the internet being like, no, Baker Mayfield, we can't have that. So that seems like that's not going to happen. So that would be odd if it were. So I think he does go to Seattle. He's been linked to Seattle the whole time. He said on the podcast, Seattle's probably the destination. And that's what I think happens. And I think the deal gets done soon.
I agree. I mean, like we said, there's not many landing spots. We know Jimmy G's kind of on the shelf with an injury right now and not in trade talks really. But I think Baker Mayfield's obviously going to start the season for Seattle at quarterback. That's what I feel like, honestly.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, do you really see a universe in which this continues and continues and continues to just linger?
It can't. Did you see his dog on that podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Do you think he shows up tomorrow?
No.
I think he does.
You think he does? That'd be interesting.
I think he does. I think he does because I think he wants to just have as many disruptions as possible.
I mean, either way, he could potentially disrupt. I mean, more so being there, you're right, but also be pretty newsworthy if he just skipped out.
Yeah. I mean, Rappaport is insisting that the Panthers have the inside track on Mayfield. So we'll see. But I think this gets done soon.
200%. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has to.
He fell so far in the latest Superflex ADP from DLF. He's already at 125.5. So outside the top 10 rounds. I don't think anyone wants Baker to play for their team, personally. And yeah, Baker's messy, so of course he'll show up. Yeah, I do think he'll show up. And then, okay, the other thing. A.J. Brown and Debo both not reporting today. Mclaren, there was a debate about whether he's going to report. Now, and there's also DK Metcalf kind of up in the air. All the 2019 wide receivers. You think any of these guys get traded, or you think they all get the extensions? What do you think?
Ooh, I think one of them goes. I think this offseason has been so wild, so upside down that something else major is going to happen. I feel like we got one humongous move left.
I think there's more than one, but I would say of all of them, A.J. Brown is the one I think is the least likely to get traded. The Titans were not wishy-washy. They were unequivocal that they were going to extend A.J. Brown. The Seattle, very equivocal with DK Metcalf, very wishy-washy. We haven't heard anything from Washington on Terry McLaurin, really, or the 49ers on Deebo Samuel. But I would guess that they get the deals done. Also, McLaurin doesn't have that much production, and I don't know. I mean, he does, but I don't know if he has the same kind of leverage as these other guys. So, and and he's also a little bit older. I think Mclaren just takes the deal, even if it's not what he wanted. I think he just takes it. I don't know. Are there teams lining up to pay Terry McLaurin $24-25 million a year? I'm not paying Terry McLaurin $24-25 million a year. I'll tell you that. Right now. I'm not paying him that. So maybe there would be a team that did it, but I don't think he's quite in the group of these other guys to deserve that kind of salary.
I don't think he's either, but we always see teams do that. So
we do, but I don't know if he's as good. So that's the thing. I just think the Titans can't afford to lose AJ Brown. Washington can't afford to lose Terry McLaurin either. The only team that can afford to lose the player that they have is Seattle, because Seattle is the one of these teams that I don't really feel like is trying to win. And Washington not trying to win, but they're also not really rebuilding either. So, but I do think if there's one traded, it is DK Metcalf.
I would probably agree with you there. I mean, Debo a little bit. Debo's climbing right the list for me.
With Debo, they made Debo into the success that he was. I'm not sure Debo just walks into another team and is just as good. AJ Brown, I feel like they really like him. DK Metcalf is the one that I think is the most likely to move, because I think DK Metcalf could work in any offense, and he's the one who wants to be there the least, seems like.
Yeah.
Penny in the 105 for Travis Etienne, 1 QB league. That feels kind of expensive to me.
I'd hold the 105.
So would I. Yeah, because the 105, you're going to get either Hall, Walker, or one of our top 3 wide receivers, and I'd probably rather all those guys over Etienne. So yeah. I'll hold the 105.
5's the cutoff line. Maybe 106, maybe 107 I'd consider.
Yeah, maybe. Penny's not worthless. So
no.
It would, maybe the 107, 108 and Penny for Etienne, but not the 105. Well, let's see. I think we covered everything on the show sheet. So you want to plug your stuff if there's any stuff?
I mean, I just got my Twitter right here, and I'm so excited for the draft show. I am got it marked on the calendar, every calendar.
Yeah, so, I'll plug the other stuff. I mean, we have my Patreon. We know about that. My articles are at DLF. My Twitter is right there. My mic's in the way. And then other than that, next week, we will have a mock draft. We did all of our rankings. We had quarterbacks and tight ends 2 weeks ago, running backs last week, wide receivers this week. You can go back and watch those if you want to see it. We will have the mock draft, pre-draft mock draft next week. Then on Thursday and Friday, we'll have our live streams during the NFL draft. And then the Monday after, we will have a post-draft mock draft. So 2 straight mock drafts on the podcast and then the live stream during the NFL draft. And we'll have the podcast episode of this out soon. Should be out tonight. Yeah. Other than that, I appreciate everyone who listened, everyone who joined in on the chat. And I know that mock drafts, the last mock draft we did was Startup Mock. It was very popular. We'll do both a Superflex and a 1 QB because of rookie mock. It's only 4 rounds. So we got through the whole thing without a timeout last time. So I'm hoping we can do that again this time. But I know that was really popular. But there'll be 2 different mocks. So hopefully we'll have 22 people jump in instead of just 12 others. Or no, 20 people get to jump in. Yeah, because we'll be in both of them twice. But anyway, appreciate everyone listening. Appreciate everyone watching. If you're here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, like the video, leave a comment. All of those things really help us and the algorithm. If you're on the podcast, follow the podcast and leave a review. And we'll see you all next week.
Yep. See you.
Peace.